Hey guys, tonight we are going to get profoundly, monumentally sleepy. We're drifting back, way back to a time of perpetual, inky blackness. Imagine a darkness so complete it feels like a weighted blanket for the entire world. A soft, heavy pressure that quiets everything. You're floating in it right now. A speck of consciousness in a universe waiting for its light switch. The air is cool and smells of damp earth and something ancient, like stone and slow-growing moss. Don't even try to stay awake for this one. You probably won't survive this tale of how a cosmic thief gave the world its nightlight. Frankly, the odds are stacked against you. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is, so I can picture you all slowly succumbing to the void across the globe. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You exist, but you aren't sure where. There is no where, not in any visual sense. There is only the deep, profound, and seemingly infinite dark. It's not just the absence of light, it's a presence. It has weight and temperature. It presses gently on your eyelids and swirls in the space where a horizon should be. The air itself feels thick, saturated with a blackness that swallows sound before it can travel too far. You try to open your eyes wider, a useless, instinctive gesture. There's no difference between eyes open and eyes shut. It's a darkness that exists both outside of you and behind your own eyelids, a seamless continuity of nothing. Your mind, desperate for stimulus, starts to create its own. Faint, ghostly patterns of muted color swim in your vision, what modern science calls phosphines. The little light shows your optic nerve puts on when it gets bored. It's the brain's equivalent of humming to itself in an empty room, a phenomenon sometimes called Eigengrau, or intrinsic gray. It's proof that even in absolute nothingness, your body is still trying to see something. But it's not enough. The patterns are fleeting, unsatisfying ghosts. You are standing on something solid, at least. You think. You shift your weight, and the ground beneath you is soft, spongy, yielding. It's a carpet of millennia of fallen needles and decaying leaves, so thick that your footsteps make almost no sound. This is the floor of a great forest, one that has never known the sun. You are on an island, one of a vast archipelago that will one day be called Haida Gwaii, a cluster of land off the coast of what will become British Columbia. This temperate rainforest is ancient, having stood here for more than 14,000 years, a living relic of the world that emerged from the last ice age. But you don't know that. You only know the feel of the damp moss that clings to everything, slick and cool beneath your fingertips. You reach out, your hands sweeping through the black air until they meet the rough, grooved bark of a colossal tree. It must be a cedar, its trunk wider than your embrace, soaring up into a darkness as absolute as the ground below. Stubbing your toe on an unseen root is a constant and legitimate fear, perhaps the only real danger in this silent, slow-motion world. There is no day or night. There is no clock. Time is measured only by the rhythm of your own breathing, the slow beat of your heart, the pang of a hunger that comes and goes. The world is a tapestry woven from other senses. You can smell the difference between the sharp, clean scent of pine and the deep, loamy aroma of humus. You can hear the faintest drip of water from a fern frond to a mossy stone, a tiny percussive note in the overwhelming silence. This is a world built for listening. Sometimes a gust of wind smelling of salt and wet rock will move through the high unseen canopy, and the sound is not a rustle, but a deep oceanic whoosh, as if the entire forest is taking a single slow breath. Archaeologists still argue whether the evidence of the first people to walk this land is now deep underwater, their ancient shorelines swallowed by rising seas after the glaciers retreated. Perhaps their stories, their entire existence, are lost to a past even deeper than this darkness. It's a humbling thought that entire histories can vanish beneath the waves, leaving only myth and speculation behind. In a way, you are in that lost time now, a world before history, before the first sunrise was ever recorded. It's like living inside a forgotten memory, and it is, to be honest, a little boring. The kind of profound, soul-crushing boredom that precedes either madness or a really, really good idea. That profound boredom begins to change, to curdle into a new kind of attention. Your mind, no longer straining for a light that will never come, starts to recalibrate. It's a slow, subtle shift, like a radio being tuned to a distant station. The static of your sight-starved brain fades, and in its place, other frequencies become crystal clear. You begin to realize that the world has been speaking to you all along. You just weren't listening with the right ears. Your hearing, once a secondary tool, is now your primary sense. It develops a new, almost architectural quality. The constant, gentle drip of water you noticed before is no longer just a sound, it's a landmark. You can map your position relative to it. The sound is sharper to your left, more muffled to your right. You turn your head, and the acoustic properties of the space change. You're becoming sensitive to the way sound reflects, the way it bends around the massive trunks of the silent cedars and hemlocks. You begin to experiment. You make a soft clicking sound with your tongue. The sound goes out, a tiny ripple in the vast, quiet pond of the world, and a moment later, the echo returns. It comes back flat and immediate from the tree in front of you, but softer, more delayed, from the open space to your side. This is the rudimentary basis of echolocation, a skill perfected by bats and dolphins but surprisingly accessible to humans. There are documented cases of blind individuals who have taught themselves to navigate, even ride bicycles, by interpreting the echoes of their own clicks. Your brain is a marvel of plasticity, and in this total darkness, it is rewiring itself, turning your ears into a crude form of sonar. You can now perceive the density of the forest, the proximity of a rock face, the presence of a clearing just by the texture of the returning sound. You start to hear things you never could have before. The impossibly quiet rustle of a beetle's legs on a piece of bark, the deep subterranean gurgle of a hidden spring. It's like finally noticing the hum of your refrigerator from the other side of the house, a sound that was always there but was always filtered out as unimportant. Your sense of touch expands beyond your fingertips. The soles of your feet become interpreters of the terrain. You can feel the difference between the packed, damp earth of a game trail and the looser, needle-strewn forest floor. You can discern the subtle downward slope of the ground that suggests you're nearing a stream. The air itself is a source of information. You feel the change in temperature and humidity as you pass by a large, mossy boulder that holds the chill of the deep earth. A faint, almost imperceptible breeze on your cheek tells you which way the valley runs. You walk with your hands held loosely in front of you, not just to avoid collisions but to feel the world. Your fingers brush against the delicate, lacy texture of a fern, then the cool, hard surface of wet stone, then the yielding softness of a curtain of moss. These are your new signposts. Anthropologists still argue whether spoken language evolved as our primary tool because it frees up the hands for other tasks, or because it is simply the most effective way to communicate when you can want to see the person you are talking to. Here in the absolute dark, a conversation of gestures is unthinkable. A high five would be a disastrously misaimed affair. Language, pure sound, would be everything. And then there is scent. Your nose, long relegated to the simple duties of appreciating food or detecting smoke, awakens. The air is a library of smells. You can chart a course by following the rich, pungent scent of a particular type of fungus that grows only on decaying fir trees. The sharp metallic tang in the air signals that the river is close, its water flowing over iron-rich stones. You can smell rain an hour before it arrives, a clean, electric scent that changes the texture of the air. It is in this world that you might appreciate a little-known piece of your own anatomy, the vomeronasal organ or Jacobson's organ. It's a tiny patch of sensory cells in your nasal cavity, and while its function in humans is debated, in many animals it's used to detect pheromones, subtle chemical signals related to mood and identity. It's a form of communication that requires no sound, no sight, no touch. It's just a silent, invisible broadcast of being, a rather useful tool when judging the character of a stranger in the dark, and certainly a more reliable method for choosing a partner than swiping through blurry photos. This world is no longer a void. It has depth, texture, and a complex, unseen geometry. You are not lost in it anymore. You are a part of it, attuned to its quiet, subtle language. Into this newly ordered world of sound, touch, and scent, a new element arrives. It is not a natural sound like the snap of a twig or the sigh of the wind. It's structured. It has cadence and intent. It is a whisper. At first, you think it's just a trick of the air, a phantom of your own mind. But then you hear it again, carried on a breeze that smells of damp ferns and distant water. It is a fragment of a voice, spoken by some other unseen creature as it passes you in the impenetrable gloom. The words are soft, but they carry a strange weight. They speak of something you have no name for, no concept of. They speak of light. The word is meaningless. What is light? Is it something you can eat? Something you can wear? Is it a type of soft moss or a particularly smooth stone? The word hangs in the air and then dissolves, leaving only a deep and profound curiosity in its wake. You start to move through the forest with a new purpose, not just navigating, but listening. You follow the game trails, the paths worn smooth by the passage of countless soft-footed beings, and you hear the story again and again. It seems to be the only topic of conversation in this dark, quiet world. It's passed from one to another in hushed tones, a rumor spreading with the slowness of a creeping vine. It's a kind of cosmic, pre-internet version of a viral tweet, taking centuries to cross a single valley. In societies without writing, this is how information travels. Oral tradition isn't just telling fairy tales around a campfire. For most of human history, it was the sole method of preserving law, science, genealogy, and spirituality. A people's entire culture existed only in the shared memory of its members, passed with meticulous care from one generation to the next. The story you are now hearing is a living thing, an artifact made of breath and memory. With each retelling, the story gains detail, like a sketch being filled in by a dozen different artists. You learn that this light isn't a thing you can hold, but a condition, a state of being for the world itself. And it isn't lost. It's being kept, hoarded, by a powerful old chieftain who lives in a great house beside the river. He possesses all the light in the universe, the sun, the moon, the stars, and he keeps them locked away in a series of nested boxes. It's the ultimate act of cosmic greed, making someone who collects limited edition sneakers seem positively altruistic. Of course, the details shift with every telling, a timeless game of telephone played out in the dark. One creature insists it's 2 boxes, another is certain it's 3. One says the chieftain is a cruel tyrant, another whispers that he is simply a lonely old man, guarding the light because it is all he has. This idea, that a story passed through generations could hold a kernel of truth, isn't just fantasy. Archaeologists excavating a site in northern Canada known as Bloody Falls found physical evidence, arrowheads, bones, the remains of a brief, violent struggle that perfectly matched a local Inuit oral tradition about a specific tragic conflict between 2 groups that had occurred there centuries earlier. The story was not just a story. It was a history, preserved in memory. The whispers you are hearing feel just as real, just as important. They speak of a fundamental injustice. How can one person own the sky? How can he keep the whole world in a box? The concept of light is still abstract, an impossible fantasy. But the concept of greed, of unfairness, that is something you understand perfectly. Linguists still argue whether all the world's languages can be traced back to a single, proto-human tongue spoken in Africa tens of thousands of years ago, a mother of all stories. Perhaps this story you're hearing is a distant echo of that first language, a universal tale of darkness and the longing for something more. The word light may be alien, but the injustice it represents has lit a tiny, cold fire within you. The world is no longer just a place to exist in. It is a place where something is wrong. The story of the stolen light has taken root in you. It is no longer just a rumor you overhear. It is a landscape in your mind. The fire of indignation it sparked within you has not gone out. In fact, it has been quietly fed by the endless, monotonous dark. But this is not just a story of justice for you, is it? Let's be honest. You are Raven, and Raven is, above all things, bored. You are a being of immense power and boundless curiosity, trapped in a world with only one channel, and it's permanently off. You've counted the trees, you've mapped the streams by scent, you've learned the language of the echoes. There is nothing new. This story, this impossible idea of a glowing ball in a box, is the most interesting thing to happen in, well, forever. So, The plan that begins to form in your mind is not born of pure, selfless heroism. Psychologists still argue whether true altruism even exists or if every good deed is ultimately rooted in a selfish desire, for social reward, for a clear conscience, or simply for the pleasant feeling of having done something good. Your own motives are similarly murky. Do you want to bring light to the world for the benefit of all? Of course, that will be a wonderful side effect. But deep down, the primary driver is much simpler. You want to see the shiny thing. You want to be the one to open the box, to solve the puzzle, to pull off the ultimate prank on the ultimate authority figure. You are willing to commit a cosmic felony simply to alleviate your own crushing boredom. It certainly beats another eternity of listening to water drip. You are, after all, a trickster. This is a powerful and ancient archetype, a character that appears in the myths of almost every culture on Earth. From Loki in the Norse sagas and Anansi the spider in West African tales, to Coyote in the stories of many Native American peoples. The trickster is a complex figure. They are not a straightforward hero or a simple villain. They are a catalyst, an agent of chaos who breaks rules, defies authority, and challenges the established order. Often they are greedy, vain, and foolish, but their selfish actions inadvertently end up creating or improving the world. They are the necessary troublemakers, the sacred clowns who remind everyone that the rules are not as fixed as they seem. You, Raven, are the embodiment of that principle for the Haida people. And you have just found a rule: all light must be kept in a box that is begging to be broken. The plan itself isn't a grand, detailed schematic, nothing you'd present in a PowerPoint meeting. It's more of a sketch on the back of a cosmic napkin. The first step, the part you feel you can actually accomplish, is simply to decide to act. To stop being a passive listener and to become the protagonist of the story. You will find this chieftain, you will get into his house, and you will get those boxes. The specifics are unfuzzy. You'll improvise, you'll rely on your wits. And your wits are considerable. Your mind is perfectly suited for this. Members of the corvid family, ravens, crows, jays, are known to be among the most intelligent animals on the planet. They can solve intricate, multi-step puzzles to get a reward. They can craft and use tools. They can remember the faces of individual humans who have wronged them for years, and they've even been observed holding what look like funerals for their dead, gathering to investigate and learn from a fallen comrade. Your brain is literally built for scheming. And so, in the silent, perpetual dark, you make a decision. The time for listening to stories is over. It's time to make one. The decision once made settles within you. It gives you a new center of gravity. For the first time, you have a destination. There is a point on the unseen map that is not here. And so, you take a step. It's the hardest part of any journey, that first motion, especially when you can't see if you're about to immediately trip over a root. You lift your foot from the soft, spongy earth you know so well, and place it down into the unknown. The ground feels different already, less forgiving. You take another step, and then another, moving away from the familiar echoes and scents of your territory. There's no need to pack a bag, of course. Your sleek, dark feathers are all the clothing you'll ever need, and the forest is one vast, if currently invisible, pantry. It is wonderfully simple, with no couch or streaming service to tempt you back into blissful inertia. Embarking on a quest of cosmic significance feels like a perfectly reasonable way to spend the evening. You orient yourself by the subtle clues you've learned to read. The whispers spoke of a chieftain who lives by the great river, so your task is to find it. You turn your head, listening for the faintest, large-scale acoustic anomaly, a persistent low-frequency sound that might indicate a massive body of moving water. You smell the air, searching for that sharp metallic scent of a riverbank, but it is distant, if it's there at all. You are starting from zero. Your journey begins by finding a path. Not a path made by you, but one made by others. Your feet, scanning the ground, find a narrow strip where the earth is more compacted, where the moss and needles have been worn away. It's a game trail, a highway for the forest's unseen inhabitants. You are stepping onto a line of collective memory, a route chosen by countless creatures before you as the most efficient way to travel. It's a phenomenon you can see in the human world, in the little dirt tracks that cut across manicured lawns, known as desire paths. They are the physical proof that the shortest distance between 2 points is the one people will actually use, regardless of where the official pavement goes. This humble trail beneath your feet is no different. It is a collaboration, an agreement written on the land. And like the great trade routes of human history, the Silk Road, the Amber Road, this path is not just for travel. It is a conduit for information. The stories of the stolen light almost certainly traveled along this very network, passed from one creature to another at the intersections of these unseen highways. You are walking on the physical infrastructure of the rumor mill. As you move, the character of the forest changes. The spaces between the trees feel wider, the canopy higher. The air carries new scents you don't recognize. You are leaving the familiar and entering what feels like a true wilderness. Yet, historians still argue whether the concept of a pristine wilderness, untouched by intelligent hands, has ever truly existed. For millennia, indigenous peoples around the world actively manage their environments, using controlled burns to clear undergrowth and promote new growth, selectively hunting to maintain healthy animal populations, and cultivating plants in ways that looked nothing like organized agriculture. The vast wild forests the first European settlers encountered in North America were in many cases carefully curated landscapes, parks on a continental scale. The forest you are in now, this inky blackness, is not an empty void. It is a home, a garden, a complex system shaped by the intentions of its inhabitants. You are not a trespasser here. You are simply a new player in a very old and very subtle game. And you are walking now, step after silent step, your senses tuned to the world ahead, the familiar comforts of your home fading into the universal darkness behind you. The journey settles into a rhythm, left foot, right foot, a steady, patient cadence on the packed earth of the trail. But walking is not the same as navigating. A path can lead anywhere. You need a map. In a world without light, you cannot draw a map on a piece of bark. You must build it inside your own mind. This is not a visual chart of lines and symbols, but a complex multisensory web of information. Neuroscientists still argue whether the cognitive maps in our brains are actual picture-like representations of space or a more abstract collection of data points and their relationships to one another. Yours is definitely the latter. It is a sequence, a story. The patch of trail that is covered in smooth, rounded stones is followed by the clearing, where the air always smells of crushed ferns, which leads to the grove of birch trees, whose bark feels like cool, dry paper beneath your feathers. You begin to practice a more active form of listening, refining the simple echolocation you discovered earlier. You send out a sharp click and analyze the return signal with the focus of a sonar technician. You learn to differentiate between the soft, sound-absorbing echo of a moss-covered log and the sharp, flat return from a bare rock face. These become your landmarks. They are the street signs and monuments of your dark world. It's the original form of voice-guided navigation, except the voice is your own, and the directions are written in the language of physics. It's wonderfully reliable. The acoustics of a cliff face never need a software update, and the system never calmly tells you to recalculate after you've taken a wrong turn. You can't afford a wrong turn. There is no one to stop and ask for directions, and even if there were, the local inhabitants might see your query less as a request for help and more as an invitation to lunch. To navigate over long distances, you need larger beacons. You begin to focus on the lowest frequencies, the sounds that travel the farthest. You filter out the nearby drips and rustles and listen for the deep, persistent hum of the landscape itself. Far off, so faint it is more of a feeling in the bones of your feet than a sound in your ears, you detect a constant, deep thrum. This is the realm of infrasound, frequencies so low they are below the threshold of normal hearing. Elephants use these subsonic rumbles to communicate across miles of savanna. Volcanoes and earthquakes generate them as they shift the Earth's crust. It's entirely possible that the great river you're searching for, with its immense volume of water cascading over stone, is producing a powerful infrasonic hum, a constant directional signal that you can follow. It is the world's biggest subwoofer, and it is calling you forward. This entire process of navigating without sight, using environmental clues and deep memory, is a skill that humanity perfected long ago. For thousands of years, Polynesian wayfinders navigated the vast, empty expanses of the Pacific Ocean in open canoes. They sailed between islands thousands of miles apart without a compass, sextant, or map. They used the stars, yes, but they also read the language of the ocean itself. They could tell the direction of a distant island by the way the ocean swells refracted and bent around it, a change in pattern they could feel through the hull of their canoe. They followed the flight paths of birds and the color of the clouds at sunset. Their knowledge was a living, breathing map, passed down through generations. What you are doing now, in this forest of black, is the same thing. You are reading the swells and currents of the air, the echoes of the trees, the deep hum of the earth. Your mental map may be a messy scribble compared to their elegant science, but it works. It doesn't need to be pretty, like a set of IKEA instructions that are beautiful but useless. It just needs to get you there. And with every step, the thrum of the distant river grows infinitesimally stronger. The path you follow is more than a convenience. It is a shared space. You are a traveler in a land that is very much inhabited. You have been so focused on the landscape, on the grand, inanimate features of the world, that you almost forgot you are not the only thinking, feeling being moving through this darkness. The evidence is subtle at first. A scent on the air that is not plant or stone but animal and warm. A series of vibrations in the ground that do not match your own footfalls. You freeze, every sense straining. The vibrations resolve into the slow, heavy tread of something immense, something that walks with a ponderous, swaying gait. It breathes in deep, weary sighs, and as it passes you, only a few feet away in the impenetrable black, you feel a wave of radiating warmth and the smell of damp fur. It pays you no mind. You are just another small, quiet traveler on the road. You begin to encounter others more frequently. They are the creatures of the long night, beings who have known nothing but this perpetual dark, like troglodytes, the animals that live their entire lives in the absolute blackness of deep caves. These beings are exquisitely adapted to their environment. True troglodytes, like the eyeless cavefish or the translucent salamander, have lost their pigmentation and their organs of sight, trading them for heightened senses of touch, vibration, and smell. You cannot see the inhabitants of this forest, but you imagine they must be similar. Pale, soft-bodied things with long, delicate feelers and wide, sensitive ears. Paleontologists still argue whether dinosaurs like T-Rex were covered in scales or feathers, what colors they were, how they truly sounded. Their reconstructions are brilliant, educated guesses based on the hieroglyphs of bone. Your understanding of these creatures is the same. You build a picture of them from the sounds and scents they leave in their wake, and it's probably for the best. It forces you to judge them on the content of their character, rather than their undoubtedly strange appearance. Their society, if it can be called that, is a quiet one. Sound is a precious and dangerous commodity here. To make a loud noise is to advertise your location to anything that might be hungry. This caution is reminiscent of a rather bleak solution to the Fermi paradox, the question of why we haven't found evidence of intelligent alien life. It's called the Great Silence Theory, and it posits that the universe might be full of life, but the intelligent species have all learned a crucial lesson: stay quiet. To broadcast your existence to the cosmos is to risk attracting the attention of something ancient, powerful, and predatory. The creatures of this forest live by the same principle. Communication is brief, hushed, and meaningful. No one here is making small talk about the weather, which, to be fair, is incredibly consistent, yet they do communicate. You hear them. Sometimes it's a language of soft clicks and whistles, a percussive conversation that echoes faintly between the trees. Other times, you hear a strange melodic humming, a voice that sounds like a biological auto-tune, rising and falling in hypnotic patterns. And what are they talking about? They are talking about the chieftain. They are whispering the story of the stolen light. From a chittering, unseen creature, you hear of the chieftain's daughter. From a being that smells of ozone and cold stone, you hear that the boxes are nested one inside the other. The story is the common currency of this quiet, dark world. It is the one topic important enough to risk breaking the silence for. You are an outsider, a silent observer of this hidden society, but you share their one unifying grievance. You are all living under the same oppressive, suffocating blanket of black, and you are all dreaming the same impossible dream of a world filled with something called light. Days, or what pass for days, bleed into one another. Your journey is a long, continuous act of walking and listening. But the sensory landscape is changing. The deep, infrasonic hum that has been your constant companion is no longer a subtle vibration in your bones. It has grown into a low, audible roar that seems to fill the entire world, a powerful, constant presence just ahead. The air is thick with the smell of wet stone and churning water, so potent it feels like you could drink it. You have found it, the great river from the stories. You stand at its edge, a bank of smooth, cool stones beneath your feet. You can hear the immense, unseen weight of the water rushing past, a force of nature that has carved this channel out of the world in the patient, grinding darkness. It is a natural moat, a formidable defense for whatever lies on its banks. And then, you smell it. A scent so alien, so completely out of place in this damp, cool, living world that it stops you in your tracks. It is the smell of smoke. Wood smoke. Sharp, dry, and warm. In a world that has never known fire save for the cold, random lightning strike, the smell of a controlled, continuous burn is the scent of civilization. It's as shocking and exotic to your senses as the most complex artisanal candle, with notes of cedar, hearth, and revolution. It is the undeniable proof that the stories are true. Someone is here. Someone is tending a fire, defying the endless, chilly damp. You have reached your destination. The excitement is a tight knot in your chest, a strange mix of triumph and terror. You've arrived, but you have no invitation, and the reviews for this place are probably terrible. 0 stars. Oppressive atmosphere. Hordes, all the good stuff. You follow the plume of scent, your beak pointed into the breeze. It leads you along the riverbank, the roar of the water on one side, the silent ancient forest on the other. This is the chieftain's security system, and you have to admit, it's effective. No need for cameras or motion detectors when your front yard is 1,000 miles of pitch-black, untamed wilderness. As you get closer, you begin to perceive the structure itself. You cannot see it, but you can hear its absence. The building is so colossal that it casts a sound shadow, a huge area where the roar of the river is suddenly muffled, blocked by an immense, solid object. It is a pocket of relative silence, and in its center, the smell of smoke is thick and strong. You are standing before the chieftain's longhouse. You can feel its presence, a great weight on the world. Reaching out with your senses, you can almost trace its outline. This is a traditional Haida longhouse, a marvel of engineering and artistry, built from massive cedar planks. These structures were the heart of coastal villages, sometimes stretching over 100 feet long, housing multiple families of the same clan. They were entered through a low, oval doorway, often cut into the base of a towering, carved pole. You imagine these poles standing here, silent and unseen sentinels in the dark. Archaeologists still argue whether these magnificent totem poles were primarily genealogical records, artistic expressions, or if they served some practical, architectural purpose. Here in the gloom, you can believe they are all of those things, and more. They are pillars holding up the story of the world. As you stand at the edge of the clearing, you notice a faint, cold glimmer near the base of the house. It is bioluminescence, a soft, ethereal glow from a patch of foxfire fungus growing on a decaying log. This is the world's only native light, a cold, living shimmer, and from the smoke hole in the roof of the great house you hear the faint crackle of a warm, stolen fire, a prisoner just like the light you've come to release. You do not rush in. A plan born of impulse is a plan that will fail. You are a trickster, not a fool. The first phase of your grand heist is simple, and it is the hardest part of all. You wait. You find a perch high in the boughs of a dense spruce tree at the very edge of the clearing that surrounds the longhouse. You become a part of the tree, a dark, silent knot on a lightless branch. From here, you watch. Not with your eyes, but with every other sense you have spent a lifetime honing. You are a spy, a reconnaissance agent, and your mission is to learn the rhythm of this place. The time for action will come, but first, you must practice the art of perfect, absolute stillness. You settle in for the long haul. It's not like you have a smartphone to scroll through to pass the time. Your only entertainment is the ever-present smell of smoke and a deep, abiding sense of purpose. Your life becomes a study of the sounds and smells of the chieftain's home. It's like listening to the world's most boring reality TV show, one where the only drama is whether the fire will be stoked at the usual interval. You learn that it is. A deep, rhythmic scraping sound is followed by the telltale crackle of fresh cedar being added to the flames. You learn there is only one inhabitant, or at least, only one who makes his presence known. A single set of heavy footsteps paces the length of the massive house, from the door at one end to the fire in the center and back again. A single low voice sometimes hums a tuneless, mournful melody. It is the sound of a deep and profound solitude. The chief, it seems, is the original hermit, living in the ultimate gated community with a ridiculously exclusive membership. This patient, goal-oriented surveillance you're conducting is a fascinating thing. Ethologists, the scientists who study animal behavior, still argue whether animals are capable of complex long-term planning. Do they truly imagine a future state and formulate a series of novel actions to achieve it? Or are they just following a sophisticated set of instincts? As you sit here, calculating, observing, and waiting for the perfect opportunity, you feel like a strong piece of evidence for the planning side of the debate. You are not simply waiting for food. You are gathering intelligence for an act of cosmic larceny that will fundamentally reshape the world. This isn't instinct, it's ambition. It takes time. There's a popular idea called the 10,000-hour rule, which suggests that it takes that much deliberate practice to achieve true mastery of a complex skill. You are now beginning your 10,000 hours of studying the chieftain's house. From the faint sounds you hear, you start to piece together a picture of the man inside. He is obsessed with his possessions. Sometimes you hear a faint rhythmic clatter, like smooth stones or shells being poured from one container to another, and counted. It's the sound of a man taking inventory of his wealth. This solitary behavior is like a dark echo of the potlatch, the great ceremonial feasts of the Pacific Northwest Coast peoples. A potlatch was a public display of a chief's wealth and status, where he would give away vast quantities of gifts to his guests, affirming his power through generosity. The chieftain here does the opposite. He performs a potlatch for himself, a private ceremony where he endlessly validates his status not by giving but by hoarding. He counts his treasures in the dark, his only audience the crackling fire that is itself one of his stolen goods. As the time stretches on, one thing becomes clear. The house is a fortress. The walls are thick, the door is solid. A direct approach is impossible. You cannot force your way in. You will have to be invited. Just when the monotonous rhythm of the longhouse has been etched into your brain as a permanent, unchanging law of the universe, the pattern breaks. It happens without warning. Amidst the familiar sounds of the solitary chieftain, the heavy tread, the low hum, the stoking of the fire, a new sound emerges. It is a voice, but higher and clearer than the old man's. Then a new set of footsteps, lighter, quicker, moving with a different energy. Your entire being snaps to attention. For the first time in an age, something new has happened. The world's most boring reality show has just introduced a new character, and the plot is at last beginning to move. You dedicate your full, unwavering focus to this new presence. You learn her rhythms just as you learned her father's. She is the chieftain's daughter. You hear them speak to one another, his voice a low rumble, hers a soft counterpoint, and you notice something crucial. The old man changes when he speaks to her. His gruffness softens, his restless pacing ceases. He is attentive, yielding. You are like the scientists who studied clever Hans, the horse that could supposedly do math. They discovered the horse wasn't a mathematician. He was an expert observer, reading the subtle, involuntary cues in his trainer's posture and expression to know when to tap his hoof. You are doing the same. You are reading the acoustic cues in the chieftain's behavior, the subtle shift in the timbre of his voice, the pause in his step that tells you everything you need to know. The old man adores her. She holds a power over him that she may not even realize. Historians still argue whether women in pre-modern societies were universally subordinate or if they often wielded significant, though sometimes indirect, power. In this house, in this kingdom of two, there is no question. The daughter's influence is the primary force. This makes perfect sense within the context of Haida culture, which is traditionally matrilineal. In a matrilineal society, a person's identity, clan membership, and inheritance flow through the mother's line. A chief's heir was not his own son, but his sister's son. His own children belonged to their mother's clan. The chieftain's daughter, therefore, is the vessel of his entire lineage. She carries the noble bloodline that gives him his status. She is, in a very real sense, the future. She is infinitely more precious to him than the boxes of light he guards so jealously. And you realize, with a spark of electric certainty, that this fierce, protective love is his greatest weakness. Her routine is simple, almost as monotonous as her father's. She sleeps, she eats, she speaks with the old man. But there is one crucial difference. Once during every waking cycle, she leaves the longhouse. She performs the simple domestic chore of fetching water from the great river. Her routine is as predictable as watching paint dry. But for you, it is the most exciting event in the world. It is the only time the great cedar door opens. It is the only interaction between the inside of the fortress and the outside world. It is the crack in the armor. Your focus narrows from the entire house from the old man and settles completely on her. She is no longer just a character in the story. She is the key. She is the path. And as you watch her make her solitary journey to the river's edge, a new plan begins to form. Not a sketch on a napkin this time, but a plan of exquisite, impossible subtlety. A plan worthy of a trickster. The moment arrives as you knew it would. You hear the great wooden door of the longhouse groan open, a sound that is now as familiar to you as your own heartbeat. The daughter's light footsteps begin their journey along the well-worn path to the river. This is it, the narrow, fleeting window of opportunity. There can be no hesitation. You launch from your perch in the spruce tree, a silent shadow gliding through the deeper shadows of the forest. You land on the branch of a hemlock tree, one that hangs directly over the path. Now comes the hard part. Now comes the magic. This is not a simple illusion, no cheap trick with a puff of smoke and a velvet curtain. This is an act of fundamental self-recreation. In many cultures, the shaman is a figure who can traverse the boundaries of reality, who can journey to the spirit world or take on the form of an animal to gain wisdom. Your transformation is an act of this ancient sacred logic. You are not disguising yourself as a needle. You are becoming one. You focus your entire will, all of your cunning and desire and raven nature, into a single infinitesimal point inside your own chest. You gather the idea of yourself and begin to compress it. Physicists still argue whether the universe, at its most fundamental level, is made of particles and energy, or if it is purely information. As you perform this act, it feels like the latter. You are not destroying your matter, you are rewriting your own code. The sensation is indescribable, a process of systematic collapse. It is deeply uncomfortable, like trying to fold yourself into a suitcase that is many, many sizes too small. Your powerful wings, built to ride the cosmic winds, begin to stiffen and shrink, the individual feathers fusing together, losing their identity. Your sharp, intelligent eyes, already useless in this dark world, cloud over and dissolve into a new kind of distributed cellular awareness. Your bones, hollow and light for flight, become dense, fibrous, turning into the woody grain of the needle. Your beak, the tool of your cleverness, hardens and elongates, sharpening down to a microscopic point. It's the ultimate diet plan, really. Going from a full-sized raven to a single, weightless needle. No carbs, no protein, just pure, unadulterated cellulose and a singular burning intent. As the last vestiges of your raven form fade away, a strange philosophical question hangs in your new, tiny consciousness. It is the paradox of the ship of Theseus. If a ship has every one of its wooden planks replaced over time, is it still the same ship at the end? You have now replaced every part of yourself. You are no longer bone and feather, but wood and lignin. Are you still raven? Something remains. The core of you, the ambition, the memory of the whispers, the audacious goal, is still there, a ghost in the new machine. You are now a hemlock needle, perfect, indistinguishable from the millions of others on the tree. You cling to the branch, a tiny, insignificant spear of wood, and you wait. You can feel the vibrations of the daughter's approaching footsteps through the branch, each one a tiny earthquake. Your entire, audacious, world-changing plan now depends on the thirst of a girl and the gentle whim of gravity. You feel her presence through the wood of the branch, a rhythmic vibration that grows stronger with each step. She is directly beneath you now. This is the moment. With a final surge of will, you release your grip. There is no grand leap, no dramatic flight. You simply let go. For a fraction of a second, you are weightless, tumbling silently through the cool, dark air. You land with a sound so faint it is swallowed by the gurgle of the river, a tiny plip as you break the surface of the water in her bucket. This is, without a doubt, the most stressful float trip in the history of the universe. There is no lazy river, no gentle sunshine. There is only a cedarwood bucket and an overwhelming sense of existential risk. Your new world is a gently sloshing universe of wood and water. You float on the surface, your tiny light form held aloft by the water's tension. The sounds of the world outside are distorted and muffled, filtered through the cedar planks of your temporary home. The primary sensory input is scent. You are immersed in the clean, slightly tangy aroma of the cedar itself. For the people of this coast, cedar was the tree of life. Its wood was used to build everything from the colossal longhouses to the magnificent ocean-going canoes. Its bark was shredded and woven into soft, water-resistant clothing. Even the wooden buckets and boxes used for carrying water or cooking were ingeniously crafted from a single plank, steamed and bent into a watertight shape. The water you are floating in is infused with this sacred wood, and you can somehow perceive its taste. Crisp, pure, with woody notes and a clean, primordial finish. A 5-star review if you were in the business of rating water. You are, for all intents and purposes, in a state of suspended animation. Biologists still argue whether the process of cryptobiosis, seen in creatures like the microscopic tardigrade, is truly a pause in life or some other state entirely. These water bears can dry themselves out completely, surviving the vacuum of space and extreme radiation, only to reanimate when exposed to water. You are in a similar, if more magical, state. Your life functions are suspended. You are a sliver of wood animated by a single, unwavering purpose. You are in the world, but not quite of it, like a droplet of water dancing on a hot skillet. This is the Leidenfrost effect. A layer of vapor keeps the droplet from making contact with the hot surface. You are floating on a similar invisible layer of pure intention, waiting for the moment when the barrier can be broken. The journey back to the longhouse is a slow, swaying ride. You feel the rhythmic thump of the daughter's footsteps and hear the muffled crunch of the path. Then comes the deep, groaning sound of the door. The air temperature changes instantly, from the cool damp of the forest to the dry warmth of the fire-lit interior. The roar of the river fades, replaced by the much louder, more immediate crackle and hiss of the fire. You have done it. You have crossed the threshold. You are inside the fortress. The bucket is placed on the floor with a soft thud. And now another wait begins. Time passes. Then you feel the water shift. A scoop? Perhaps a ladle carved from horn dips into the bucket and you are lifted along with a small pool of water. You are rising. The air grows warmer. You are approaching her face. This is the final, irrevocable step. The culmination of all the planning, the long journey, the impossible transformation. You are tipped over the edge of the ladle, and with a final, gentle slide, you are swallowed. The journey down is swift, a slide into a new and even more profound darkness. The hemlock needle, your Trojan horse, has served its purpose. Its woody form dissolves, not digested, but transformed. The physical disguise melts away, leaving only the pure, condensed essence of your being, a spark of ancient consciousness, a seed of cosmic trickery. You are now inside the chieftain's daughter. You have breached the final wall of the fortress. You are the ultimate sleeper agent, having taken the term far more literally than any spy has ever dared. This is by far the strangest place you have ever stayed. 0 stars, no windows, and the constant thundering noise from the neighbors is a bit much. Your new universe is one of warmth, fluid, and rhythm. The world outside is gone. Even the muffled sounds you heard from the bucket are now just indistinct, deep vibrations. The one overwhelming sensory input is the steady, powerful, percussive beat of her heart. It is the metronome for your new existence, a constant drum marking a slow biological time. You are pure potential, floating in a perfect, life-giving darkness. There is nothing to do but wait and grow, and so you do. You begin to weave a new body for yourself, not of feather and bone this time, but of flesh and blood. You are hijacking a sacred process, initiating a pregnancy of pure magic. This seemingly impossible act has a faint echo in the natural world. It's a process called parthenogenesis, a Greek term for virgin birth. It's a rare but real form of reproduction, where an embryo develops without fertilization, observed in some species of reptiles, insects, and even birds. Your conception is a more deliberate, more divine version of this, not an accident of biology, but an act of will. Time becomes a meaningless concept. How long are you here? A month? A year? You measure your existence only in the slow, miraculous process of your own formation. You sprout limbs, a tiny heart that learns to beat in counter rhythm to the great heart outside you. You form eyes that will one day see the light you have come to steal, and a mouth that will one day cry for it. This is the ultimate test of the nature versus nurture debate, a question developmental biologists still argue over. How much of a person is written in their genes and how much is shaped by their environment? Your nature is that of an ancient, clever, chaotic being. Your nurture is the very essence of the noble bloodline you are seeking to undermine. You are a paradox, a god being built from the cells of his adversary. You hope she develops a craving for something simple, like salmon or berries, and not something difficult like igneous rocks. You are a secret, a cuckoo in the nest. Your presence is a far more invasive version of a strange biological phenomenon known as fetal microchimerism, where a mother's body absorbs a small number of her baby's cells, which can then circulate and live within her for decades. She carries a literal, living memory of her child. You are no mere memory. You are a complete, separate consciousness, patiently biding your time, listening to the muffled conversations between the daughter and her father through the wall of her body. You hear his concern, her confusion, and you continue to grow. A perfect, beautiful human child on the outside, a cunning 1,000-year-old raven on the inside. You are almost ready. The waiting is nearly over. Soon you will be born into the house you have so cleverly infiltrated. The time of quiet waiting is over. Your journey from the warm, muffled darkness into the world is a sudden, shocking transition. You are thrust from the perfect, silent suspension of the womb into a new reality that is, by comparison, an assault on the senses. The first breath you take is not of sterile fluid, but of cool, smoky air that scratches at your brand new lungs. The gentle, rhythmic drum of your mother's heart is gone, replaced by a cacophony of new sounds. The sharp crackle of the fire, the rustle of cedar mats, and the low, anxious voices of your new family. Your first review of the outside world is not favorable. Too loud, too cold, and while still dark, it's a harsh, empty darkness compared to the gentle press of the womb. 1 out of 10. Would not recommend. You are a baby now, a small, helpless bundle of human flesh. But inside, your ancient consciousness is wide awake, alert, and already calculating. This is your greatest performance. The method-acting challenge of a lifetime, to convincingly play the part of a newborn. You must mimic their confusion, their helplessness, their mindless crying. And so you cry. But your cry is not the panicked, desperate wail of a terrified infant. You put just enough force into it to be convincing, a sound designed to elicit concern and comfort. You let your limbs flail, but your movements are not quite random. And then there are your eyes. You cannot change your eyes. When they open, they are not the milky, unfocused orbs of a typical newborn. They are dark, sharp, and intelligent. They hold the unsettling, unnerving gaze of an ancient being staring out from an infant's face. This is a kind of magical atavism, the biological term for when an ancestral trait suddenly reappears after generations of absence. It's like a whale being born with hind legs, a relic of its land-dwelling past. Your ancient raven self is an ancestral trait that cannot be fully suppressed by your new human form. It leaks out through your eyes. Just as a human infant possesses the primal, untaught diving reflex to survive submersion in water, you possess a primal, deeply embedded cunning. But where the infant's reflex is pure instinct, yours is pure intent, and the old chieftain sees it. He approaches, his heavy footsteps slow and cautious. He is a grandfather now. This powerful, greedy man who hoards the universe in a set of boxes is confronted by a tiny, squirming baby. Anthropologists still argue whether unusual births in ancient cultures were seen as divine portents or terrible omens. The old chief, looking down at you, makes his choice. He sees your strange, knowing gaze not as something monstrous, but as a sign of power. He sees a reflection of himself. He sees a successor. He reaches down with his large, weathered hands and lifts you. As he holds you, his stern, possessive nature melts away, replaced by a simple, uncomplicated doting. His greatest weakness, it turns out, is grandchildren. You immediately stop crying. You look up at him, your gaze steady and direct. You are studying him and he knows it. A smile cracks his stern face. He is enchanted. He has been completely and utterly disarmed. The formidable tyrant who held the world in darkness has been instantly defeated by a 7-pound trickster. You have not spoken a word, you have not performed a single miracle, but in this moment, you have already won. You have found the key to his heart, and you know with the certainty of a master thief that it will unlock the boxes that hold the light. The long, patient con has officially begun. Time begins to flow again, measured now by your own feigned development. You grow from a strange, silent infant into a strange, silent toddler. You have to admit, this phase of the plan is quite pleasant. Life as a pampered baby is an excellent gig, especially for a cosmic entity with a lazy streak. You have no responsibilities, you pay no rent, and all of your meals are provided for you. Your every need is met by your 2 devoted caretakers. You spend your days exploring the textures of the longhouse floor, listening to the crackle of the fire, and perfecting your performance. You deserve a tiny, invisible award for your portrayal of completely normal human child. Your grandfather is your primary audience and your greatest fan. He is utterly captivated by you. He spends hours carving toys for you from scraps of cedar wood and smooth river stones, much like the simple, elemental toys children have played with in all cultures since the dawn of time. You have a small wooden raven, ironically, and a smooth flat stone that you are meant to find endlessly fascinating. You reward his efforts with your most powerful weapon, a perfectly engineered smile. You learn that a simple upturn of the lips is not enough. To truly sell the emotion, you must also crinkle the corners of your eyes. It's what scientists call a Duchenne smile, a genuine expression of joy that is difficult to fake. You, of course, with your ancient understanding of appearances, master the technique. You can produce a heart-meltingly genuine-looking smile on command, and the effect on the old chieftain is immediate and profound. He is completely wrapped around your tiny finger. You could probably convince him the floor was the ceiling if you smiled and gurgled in just the right way. Your mother loves you, but her love is tinged with a quiet confusion. She sees the strangeness in your eyes, the unnatural stillness in your moments of observation. She cares for you with a gentle, unwavering duty, but there is a distance. The grandfather, however, is blinded by his adoration. He sees your peculiarities as signs of genius, your silence as a mark of deep thought. He is the perfect mark, and you soon discover the perfect tool to manipulate him. You discover the immense world-shaping power of a well-timed tantrum. Psychologists still argue whether the tantrums of the terrible twos are an uncontrollable expression of a toddler's frustration with a world they can cur on command, or if there's a component of learned behavior, a deliberate testing of boundaries. For you, there is no debate. Your tantrums are pure, calculated theater. You begin by experimenting. A low, unhappy whine earns you a comforting pat on the back. A full-throated wail gets you picked up and held. But the real breakthrough comes when you combine the wail with a theatrical back arch, a furious stomping of your little feet, and a refusal to be consoled by anything except the one specific object you have decided you want. It is a symphony of misery, a masterpiece of manipulative despair. And it works every single time. The great chieftain, the hoarder of light, the master of this dark domain cannot stand to see his precious grandson unhappy. He will do anything, give you anything, to make the terrible noise stop and to see you reward him with one of your perfect, soul-capturing smiles. You have him. You have honed your weapon, and now you feel you are ready to aim it at a much, much bigger prize. You are now a master of your small, dark world. You can crawl with surprising speed across the cedar floorboards, and your gurgles and coos are award-winning in their authenticity. But the simple wooden toys your grandfather carves for you have begun to lose their appeal. Your ancient mind is growing impatient. It is time to escalate. It is time to begin the real work. You have spent your time observing, and you know where he keeps them. In the furthest, darkest corner of the longhouse, there is a space that the old man treats with a special reverence. He never puts anything else there. It is an empty space, a shrine to an unseen treasure. And one day you crawl towards it. Your mother tries to gently redirect you, but you are insistent. You reach the corner, and even though you can see nothing, your true raven spirit can feel it. A faint, contained energy, a warmth that does not come from the fire. You sit back on your heels, lift a chubby, determined arm, and you point your finger directly at the empty spot. You make your first sound of genuine, if feigned, desire. A soft, demanding whine. You have suddenly developed a very specific, very niche interest in antique, light-filled boxes. A sophisticated palate for a toddler. Your grandfather sees you pointing. He freezes. A look of profound anxiety crosses his face. For the first time, he doesn't smile at your antics. You see a shiver run through him, a subtle raising of the hairs on his arms. It's piloerection, the body's primal response to fear or cold. His body understands the danger before his doting mind does. No, he says, his voice soft but firm. He tries to distract you, holding out the carved wooden raven he made for you. This is the moment your plan truly begins. You have finally met his resistance. His possessiveness is a powerful force. Behavioral economists still argue whether the cognitive bias known as the endowment effect is a universal human trait. It's the simple idea that we place a much higher value on things we own, just because we own them. The chieftain's obsession with his boxes is the endowment effect taken to a cosmic extreme. He has owned the light for so long he cannot imagine the universe without his name on the title. His refusal is your cue. You turn your gaze from the corner, look him directly in the eye, and you begin to cry. Not your usual everyday cry for food or comfort. This is the beginning of your masterpiece. It starts as a low, mournful sob, your lower lip trembling with practiced perfection. When he tries to shush you, it escalates into a full-throated, ear-splitting wail of pure, inconsolable agony. You are unleashing the toddler equivalent of a strategic weapon. You flail your arms, you kick your feet against the floorboards, you arch your back as if in terrible pain. You refuse the wooden toys he offers, batting them away with a dramatic sweep of your arm. Through your manufactured tears, you keep pointing to the corner, your screams forming a single repeating demand for the thing you cannot name but desperately want. The old man is in turmoil. You can see the struggle. It's like watching a cartoon of a man with a tiny, sensible angel on one shoulder, whispering, "Don't do it," and a ridiculously cute, screaming devil baby on the other. His heart and his head are at war, and you have no intention of stopping until his heart wins. The tantrum rages on. It is a force of nature, a hurricane of pure manufactured despair. Hours pass. You do not tire. You are a being of singular focus, and you have the stamina of a marathon runner. But your sport is weaponized crying. The acoustics of the great longhouse, a space perhaps unintentionally designed for ceremony and oration, become your greatest ally. The high vaulted cedar ceiling and the hard planked walls amplify your screams, creating a resonant, overwhelming drone that is not just annoying, but physically oppressive. It drills into the old chieftain's ears, vibrating in his teeth, making thought impossible. He paces, he pleads, he offers you every other object in his possession. You refuse them all, your pointing finger never wavering from the forbidden corner, your screams never dipping in intensity. Finally, he breaks. It is not a sudden snap, but a slow, weary sagging of his entire body. He stops pacing and stands in the center of the room, his shoulders slumped in defeat. He looks at your mother, whose face is a mask of exhaustion and worry, and then he looks at you, the tiny, inexhaustible tyrant on the floor, and he surrenders. He folds like a cheap suit. With a sigh that seems to carry the weight of 1,000 years of darkness, he shuffles to the corner of the room. He kneels down, his old joints creaking, and feels for something under a pile of soft, woven cedar blankets. He pulls out a box. It's the cosmic equivalent of finding a dusty, forgotten trunk in the attic, except this attic is the dawn of time. It is the smallest of the 3 nested boxes, the first layer of his magnificent hoarded secret. It is made of a dark, heavy wood, perhaps yew, and is polished smooth from centuries of handling. In a world before metal, true wealth was measured in materials like this. Prized objects were crafted from obsidian, dentalium shells, rare woods, and the iridescent feathers of certain birds. These were the currencies of power and the markers of status. The box he now holds is an object of immense value, even without considering its contents. He carries it to you with the reluctance of a man handing over his own heart. He kneels before you, the great chief before the tiny, screaming baby, and places the box on the floor in front of you. Sociologists still argue whether a gift is ever a truly selfless act, or if it always carries an invisible contract, an expectation of reciprocity, or a shift in the balance of power. As he gives you this box, the air is thick with the weight of this transaction. This is no simple gift to pacify a child. It is a concession, a surrender, a treaty signed under duress. And the moment your chubby hands touch the cool, smooth wood, you fall silent. The storm ceases as abruptly as it began. The oppressive screaming drone vanishes, leaving behind a ringing, profound silence broken only by the crackling of the fire. You look up at your grandfather, your face streaked with fake tears, and you give him the most brilliant, joyful, eye-crinkling smile you have ever produced. The relief that washes over his face is immense, but it is followed by the faint, dawning horror of a man who has just revealed the password to his entire kingdom. He has stopped the crying for now, but he has also taught you a terrible and valuable lesson. He has taught you that he can be broken. You sit in the ringing silence, the heavy U-box in your lap. The battle is won, the prize is yours. Your grandfather watches you, his face a mixture of resignation and deep, anxious curiosity. What will you do with it? You begin your examination, playing your part as a curious toddler perfectly. You pat the smooth wood with your open palms. You lean forward and try to gnaw on a corner, a classic baby move. You push it, you pull it, and in doing so, your fumbling fingers find the latch. It's an intricate little thing, a sliding wooden pin. Thankfully, the concept of the child-proof cap has not yet been invented. With a final, determined shove, the pin slides free. The lid, which was held under some kind of internal pressure, lifts with a soft thump. A single, thin sliver of light escapes, painting a brilliant, impossibly straight line on the dark floorboards. It is not like the light from the fire. The firelight is warm, orange, and alive, constantly dancing and shifting. This light is cold, white, and perfectly still. Your mother lets out a soft gasp. Your grandfather groans, a sound of profound loss. You are, of course, enchanted. You pry at the lid, lifting it further. The light spills out, illuminating your small hands, your round face, the worried expressions of your family. You peer inside. The box is not empty. It is filled to the brim with a swirling, shifting mass of countless tiny, glittering sparks. They move like a slow-motion whirlpool of liquid diamonds. It is beautiful, mesmerizing, and far too wonderful to be kept in a box. With a motion that looks like a clumsy, accidental stumble, you tip the box over. The contents pour out onto the cedar floor, not with a crash, but with a sound like the sigh of a gentle wind. It's like spilling the universe's most expensive jar of glitter. The glittering, shining motes don't just lie there. They begin to stir. One by one, then in a soft, shimmering cloud, they begin to rise from the floor. They float upwards, silent and serene, a reverse snowfall of light. Your grandfather lets out a cry of anguish and lunges forward, trying to scoop them out of the air. a futile act of cosmic damage control. They are like smoke, like light itself, slipping through his desperate fingers. The cloud of tiny lights drifts towards the center of the longhouse, drawn to the only opening, the smoke hole in the roof. They pour through it, a silent, steady river of sparks flowing up into the great, empty blackness that blankets the world. For thousands of years to come, humanity will stare up at what you have just done, charting these lights, navigating by them, telling stories about them. The great work of astronomy, from the ziggurats of Babylon to the giant telescopes of the modern age, begins in this moment with a clumsy toddler spilling a box of sparkles. You crawl to the smoke hole and look up. For the first time, the endless, featureless ceiling of the world is decorated. It is a vast black canvas, now punctured by 1,000 tiny, sharp pinpricks of cold, distant light. It is beautiful, but also overwhelming. The sheer scale of it can inspire a kind of terror, a rare phobia known as astrophobia, and it is still mostly empty. Astrophysicists still argue whether the universe is made mostly of dark matter, an invisible substance we can only detect by its gravity. You have just released the visible part, but the sky you have made is still, and always will be, fundamentally a creature of the dark. For a few precious moments, there is a stunned silence in the longhouse. The three of you, the weary mother, the defeated grandfather, and the triumphant trickster baby, stare up through the smoke hole at the newly created night sky. The great oppressive blackness has been broken, freckled with 1,000 tiny glittering lights. It is a masterpiece. Your grandfather, though still deeply mournful of his loss, lets out a sigh of profound relief. The screaming has stopped. The crisis, he believes, is over. He has given his precious grandchild a new toy, the most spectacular toy in all of creation. Surely this will be enough. He is hoping this will keep you happy for a while. He does not understand that this toy is merely an advertisement for a much better one. You are for a moment genuinely captivated. You have never conceived of anything so beautiful, but your ancient mind processes the novelty with incredible speed. It is a classic case of what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. The theory suggests that humans have a baseline level of happiness, and while major events can cause temporary spikes of joy or sadness, we inevitably return to our starting point. Winning the lottery feels amazing for a while, but soon it becomes the new normal. For you, the starry sky is the universe's biggest lottery win, and the thrill is already fading. You're like a film critic who has just witnessed the very first motion picture. It's a stunning technical achievement, but you're already thinking about the sequel. You're already wondering when they'll invent sound and color. The stars are beautiful, but they are not useful. They are too small, too cold, too distant. They don't illuminate the world. They merely accentuate the darkness, making the vast, empty spaces between them feel even more profound. You have had your first taste of light, and it has only served to awaken a much deeper hunger. It is a kind of spiritual appetite correction. The instinct that tells an animal it needs more than just grass, it also needs salt. The stars were the appetizer. You now crave the main course. This insatiable desire for what lies beyond the known is a powerful force. Historians still argue whether the great ages of exploration were driven by a simple search for resources or by a less tangible, more psychological need to conquer, to know, to simply see what was over the next horizon. You feel that impulse now. The stars are a newly discovered coastline, and you immediately want to know what lies on the other side of that sea. Your grandfather is just beginning to relax when you make your move. You have given him approximately 5 minutes of peace, a new record in the annals of toddler negotiations. You look at the beautiful, intricately carved U-box in your hands. It is empty. It is now useless. It is boring. With a grunt of dissatisfaction, you cast it aside, letting it clatter onto the floorboards. You pivot with surprising speed. Fix your gaze on that same forbidden corner of the longhouse and point your chubby finger once more. You lock eyes with your grandfather, whose face is just beginning to register a look of pure dawning horror. And then, you take a deep breath, and you begin to scream. The encore performance has begun, and the audience of one looks like he is ready to flee the theater. Your second tantrum is a strategic evolution of the first. This is the remix, and you have amplified the bass. You have analyzed the data from your initial performance and optimized your technique. The pitch of your screams is now perfectly calibrated to exploit the resonant frequencies of the longhouse, turning the entire structure into a colossal instrument of psychological torture. Your feigned gasps for breath are timed for maximum dramatic effect, making your poor mother rush to your side, thinking you are genuinely in distress. You are a virtuoso of misery, a conductor of a symphony of sorrow, and you will not stop until your demands are met. But this time the old man is resisting with a strength you did not see before. He holds his ground, shaking his head, his face a grim mask of refusal. The first box, the stars, was a terrible loss. But this second box is different. This one is his treasure. The stars were a chaotic, glittering multitude, beautiful but impersonal. The box they came in was the smallest of the three. This next one, the one nested inside the largest box, contains the moon. The moon is singular. It is perfect. It is a sphere of serene, steady, and complete light. Across countless cultures, the moon holds a place of special power. It is a deity, a marker of time, the engine of the tides, a symbol of magic and mystery. The stars were the chief's collection of glittering stones, but the moon is his favorite album on vinyl. It is his masterpiece, and he will not give it up easily. He begins a frantic, desperate campaign of distraction. It is like a one-man, prehistoric version of the Idiotarod, that satirical shopping cart race where people parade absurd, themed creations. The chieftain's parade of distractions is just as absurd and just as futile. He pushes the now-hated star box towards you. He grabs a piece of charcoal from the fire and tries to draw funny faces on a piece of bark. He makes a puppet from a piece of fur and makes it dance. He is trying to bargain with you, but he fails to understand that negotiating a peace treaty with a tornado is a foolish errand. You are not a creature of reason. You are a creature of pure, unwavering will, and you will not be distracted. Every new toy is batted away. Every funny face is met with a renewed, ear-splitting shriek. He is fighting a losing battle, and he knows it. Cognitive psychologists still argue whether a person's supply of willpower is a finite, depletable resource. The theory of decision fatigue suggests that after making a series of difficult choices, our ability to make good ones deteriorates. The chieftain's willpower is already worn down to a nub. He just endured the immense stress of your first siege, culminating in a painful, soul-crushing concession. Now, with no time to recover, he is facing the same assault all over again. His resolve is stronger because the prize is greater, but his psychic energy is perilously low. He is a weary boxer backed into a corner facing a fresh opponent who can, and will, do this all day. He continues to shake his head, his lips pressed into a thin, determined line, but his eyes betray a deep, watery exhaustion. He is still holding the line, but the walls are beginning to crumble. The wall of your grandfather's resistance is stronger than you anticipated. Your tantrum, as technically perfect as it is not breaking him. He is miserable. He is exhausted, but he is holding firm. So, you change tactics. A true artist knows when to shift their performance. You have shown him rage, now you will show him tragedy. You are demonstrating an incredible versatility, moving from the role of an angry action hero to that of a heartbreaking, tragic figure. The screaming stops. The frantic, floor-pounding energy subsides. An unnatural quiet descends upon the longhouse. A quiet that is far more terrifying to your grandfather than the noise ever was. You become limp, lethargic. You lie on your soft fur blankets, still and silent, your breath shallow. Your mother tries to coax you to play with the star box, but you turn your head away with a weak, pathetic motion. Your grandfather carves a new, even more intricate toy, a small seal with inlaid shell for eyes, and pushes it gently into your hand. You let it drop, your fingers seemingly too weak to hold it. And then you deliver the master stroke of passive aggression. You refuse to eat. It is the universal, primal signal that all caregivers fear, the sign that something is deeply, fundamentally wrong. Your feigned disinterest in the offered mashed berries and salmon sends a wave of genuine panic through the old man. You take the performance a step further. You begin to manifest the physical symptoms of your despair. A weak, rattling cough starts in your chest. Your skin, when your mother touches it, feels cool and clammy. You are using the power of your trickster's will to create a psychosomatic illness, a perfect real-time demonstration of the nocebo effect, the dark twin of the placebo. Where a placebo can create a positive outcome based on belief, a nocebo can create negative physical symptoms from pure negative expectation. You are so committed to your role that you are literally making yourself sick with longing. This is a bizarre form of Munchausen syndrome by self, where you are both the manipulative caregiver and the sickly child, a closed loop of deception designed for a single purpose. This strategy is devastatingly effective. Biologists still argue whether an animal playing dead is acting on a simple last-ditch instinct or using a more calculated form of deception. Your performance is undeniably the latter. It is a highly advanced, strategic feigning of injury that bypasses the chieftain's anger and authority and targets his deepest, most primal emotion: fear. An angry grandchild is a problem of discipline. A sick, fading grandchild is a problem of existence. He hovers over you, his face a mess of grief and confusion. He has no medicine for an illness of the soul. He pleads with you, his voice cracking. He begs you to tell him what's wrong. And after letting the tension build to an unbearable peak, you make your final, masterful move. You stir, as if with a great and terrible effort. Your eyes, now theatrically dull and clouded, slowly find his. You lift a single, trembling hand from the blankets. Your arm shakes with practiced weakness, and you point. You do not cry, you do not scream. You simply point, one last time, at the dark, forbidden corner of the longhouse. It is the most pathetic, heart-wrenching gesture in the history of pointing, and it shatters the last remnants of his resolve. Your final pathetic gesture works like a key in a lock. The intricate defenses around your grandfather's heart collapse into ruin. He lets out a sound that is half sob, half sigh, and nods his head in utter, soul-crushed defeat. He rises to his feet and begins the slowest, saddest walk of all time, each step a heavy monument to his lost will. He retrieves the second middle-sized box from its nesting place inside the largest one. It is made of pale birch wood, sanded so smooth it seems to have a softness of its own. He carries it back to you, his prize, his precious treasure, and sets it down on the furs beside you. The moment it is within your reach, your cough miraculously vanishes. You push yourself into a sitting position, your skin suddenly regaining its healthy color. It is a medical recovery of unprecedented speed, and your grandfather is too broken to even marvel at it. He knows better than to hand it to you this time. He knows your game. With a trembling reverence, he reaches for the lid himself. He is not giving you a toy. He is performing a ceremony of surrender. He lifts the lid slowly, carefully, as if it contains not a glowing object but water, and he does not wish to spill a single drop. The lid creaks open, and the longhouse is transformed. No sparks or glittering dust spill out this time. Instead, a light begins to well up from within the box, soft, thick, and cohesive like a liquid. It is the light of the moon. The silvery glow floods the interior of the longhouse, chasing the deepest shadows into the corners. It is a gentle, dreamlike light, and it changes the very nature of sight. This is the Purkinje effect, a quirk of human vision. In low light, our eyes become more sensitive to bluer wavelengths, while reds appear muted or black. The moonlight with its blue-silver tint seems to make certain things in the room glow with their own inner light. The woven green patterns on the cedar mats, the faint blue iridescence on a string of seashells hanging from a peg. The world you have only ever known through touch, sound, and smell is suddenly, shockingly, a world of shape and form. And the first thing this magical new light reveals, of course, is that the place could really use a good dusting. For the first time in your life, you can see. You look at your hands, no longer just felt presences, but pale, distinct shapes with 5 tiny fingers. You look up and see your mother's face, her expression a mixture of awe and fear. You see your grandfather's face, etched with lines of sorrow you could never have imagined, his beard streaked with a gray you never knew was there. And they see you, truly see you, for the first time. They see your pale skin, your dark hair, and the ancient, unnerving intelligence in your eyes. Philosophers still argue whether the subjective experience of a sensation, a quail, can ever be truly communicated. The three of you are sharing this moment, but the profound personal shock of seeing for the first time is a unique and incommunicable miracle happening separately inside each of you. The moon is still in its box, a captive sphere of light, but its essence has already escaped, filling the world with a soft, silvery, and revolutionary glow. The longhouse is bathed in a profound and magical stillness. The three of you sit mesmerized by the soft, silvery light that pools from the open box. You, the child, have been miraculously cured. Your grandfather, though heartbroken, is relieved that you are safe. He watches as you, his precious, peculiar grandson, reach your small hands forward into the box, towards the glowing sphere. He thinks you simply want to touch it, to play with it as you would a smooth, round stone from the river. He does not understand that the performance is over. The time for subtlety has passed. The moment your skin makes contact with the moon's cool, luminous surface, the spell of your humanity shatters. It is not a slow, painful shrinking as before, but a rapid, explosive reclaiming of your true self. The chubby, useless baby limbs stretch and darken, erupting into sleek, powerful wings covered in a million glossy black feathers. Your round, innocent face sharpens and elongates, your nose and mouth fusing into a strong, intelligent beak. Your soft skin hardens into scales on your legs and feet. In an instant, the child is gone, and in its place stands Raven, huge and powerful and ancient. You've just experienced quite the growth spurt, skipping the awkward teenage years entirely, which is certainly for the best. Your mother screams, a sharp cry of terror and disbelief. Your grandfather can only stare, his jaw slack, his mind unable to bridge the gap between the beloved grandchild of one moment and the terrifying godlike bird of the next. He is watching his grandson turn into a bird and fly off with his favorite lamp, and it is simply too much to process. You pay them no mind. You are no longer their son, their grandchild. You are the trickster, the thief, the liberator of light. You seize the moon. In your grasp, it has a strange quantum duality. It feels solid, a perfect, heavy sphere, a particle. Yet it is the source of the ambient, room-filling light, a wave. It is the ultimate prize, the hope diamond of the cosmos, and the heist is now in its final stage. With a powerful cry that is not human but pure raven, you beat your great wings, launching yourself from the floor. The air of the longhouse, which had seemed so vast to a small child, is now a cramped space you cross in two powerful strokes. You soar directly towards the smoke hole, your exit route to the heavens, the portal you so cleverly opened with the stars. You burst through into the cold, silent, and now star-dusted sky. For a moment you hover there in the immense blackness. Historians still argue whether great historical changes are the result of the actions of singular, powerful individuals, the great man theory, or of broader, impersonal forces. In this moment, as you hold the fate of the night sky in your claws, you are the ultimate proof that a single, great being can indeed change the world. You pull your wings back, and with an innate understanding of the unseen laws that govern the universe, the very rules of gravity that a man named Newton would one day write down, you give the moon a mighty, calculated shove. You do not just throw it, you place it. You set it upon its perfect, invisible track, a silent silver ship destined to orbit the world forever. You hang in the silent, cold air of the high heavens, a black shape against the glittering stars you scattered. Behind you, the moon you have just placed sits in the sky, serene and perfect, its work already begun. You turn your gaze downwards, to the world that has, until this very moment, been nothing but an idea, a mental map of sound and scent and touch. And you watch it being born. The gentle silvery light pours down, and the entire world becomes a kind of camera obscura, that ancient device where a tiny pinhole of light projects a perfect image of the outside world onto a dark interior wall. The moon is the pinhole, and the world is the darkroom, and for the first time an image of reality is appearing on its surface. You feel a deep, quiet satisfaction, the pride of a cosmic interior decorator who has just installed the perfect, dramatic mood lighting. The transformation is breathtaking. The great river, which was only a roar and a damp smell, is now a winding ribbon of hammered silver, reflecting the new light in the sky. The forest, once an undifferentiated mass of texture and echo, now has form. The moonlight doesn't penetrate its dense canopy, so the woods are a deep velvety black, but the very tops of the colossal cedar and spruce trees catch the light, their tips frosted in silver, as if by a magical silent snow. In the distance, the mountains, which you had only ever known as a steepness of the ground and a change in the wind, are now revealed as majestic, jagged silhouettes, their stony faces half-lit, their dark valleys filled with a profound and mysterious shadow. It turns out the world isn't just a series of bumps and smells. It has edges, it has dimension, and some of it is quite pointy. Down below on that newly revealed landscape, there must be a deep and profound confusion. A lot of creatures are probably bumping into newly visible tree roots. For beings who have spent their entire existence navigating by echo and scent, this new sensory input must be overwhelming. As your sharp raven eyes adjust to the gloom, you see the forest floor begin to twinkle with 1,000 tiny paired lights. It is the phenomenon of eyeshine, the light of your moon reflecting from the specialized layer in the back of the eyes of the world's nocturnal creatures. Every owl, every wolf, every tiny mouse that was once hidden in the perfect blackness is now betrayed by its own gaze, their eyes glowing like embers as they stare up at the impossible new object in the sky. This is the first true map of the world, a landscape painted in monochrome. But cartographers still argue whether a map is ever a truly objective document, or if it is always a subjective story, emphasizing certain features while ignoring others. The map laid out below you is the most subjective of all. The moonlight reveals, but the shadows it creates conceal just as much. Every illuminated treetop has a corresponding dark space beneath it. Every lit rock face creates a black pool of mystery behind it. You have not banished the darkness. You have merely given it shape, definition, and a profound new beauty. You have created a world not of perfect clarity but of enchanting contrast. It is a good start. But as you look at the soft, gentle quality of the light, you know that your work is still not complete. This light is for the night, but what about the day? You glide in a slow, majestic circle, a dark speck in your own newly made sky. The world below is a masterpiece of silver and shadow, a silent, sleeping land transformed by your gift. You look back towards the place you just escaped, the great longhouse by the river. From this height, it is just a tiny, dark shape. You can see the soft square of moonlight that is the open doorway, and you can just make out two impossibly small figures standing there, staring up at the sky. You can almost hear the faint, indignant shout of a single, elderly man yelling, "Hey, get back here with my favorite lamp." But his voice is lost in the immense quiet space you have created between the world and its new light. A deep satisfaction settles within you. You are not just a thief. You are a public utility provider. You have performed a great service. You have given the night its character, its beauty, its mystery. But as you watch the cold, white light touching the sleeping world, you know that the job is only half finished. The moonlight is beautiful, but it is a cold beauty. It offers no warmth. It cannot wake the sleeping flowers or ripen the berries on the vine. It is the light for secrets, for shadows, for dreams. It is not the light for life. Your gaze drifts back to the longhouse, back to that dark, forbidden corner you know so well. There is still one box left, the largest box, the one that holds the final, most brilliant prize. Inside that last great container is the sun. For as long as there have been people, the sun has been the ultimate symbol of power and life. In ancient Egypt, it was the god Ra, the king of all deities. For the Greeks, it was Apollo, driving his fiery chariot across the sky. The sun is the engine of the world, the source of all warmth and all growth. The chieftain, by keeping it in a box, has essentially achieved the status of what modern theorists would call a Type 2 civilization on the Kardashev scale, a being who can harness the entire energy output of their star. He has the ultimate power source locked away in his living room. It is the final, one-of-a-kind mint-in-box collector's item, and your collection is not yet complete. Archaeologists still argue over the reasons for the collapse of great ancient civilizations. Was it drought, war, disease? Was it the depletion of a vital resource? The tiny two-person civilization of the Longhouse is about to suffer that exact fate. Its primary resource is about to be liberated. Your great work is not over. The story of how the clever raven placed the moon in the sky is now finished. But the story of how he brought the warm, glorious, life-giving sun to the world, that story is just waiting for the right moment to begin. You turn your back on the longhouse, your thoughts already filled with the shape of a new plan, a new disguise, a new and final theft. And so the story pauses here, hanging in the silent silvered air, its purpose for tonight now complete. You can let it go. There is no need to worry about that final brilliant theft, no need to plan the next stage of the cosmic heist. That is a story for another time, another dream. The world you are in now is safe, and it is gently lit by a soft, sleepy moon and the faint, distant shimmer of the stars. Let the image of the great black raven, turning slowly in the endless quiet sky, begin to soften and fade. Allow the sharp silver edges of the moonlit forest to dissolve into a gentle, blurry softness. All the details can drift away now, leaving only the feeling of peace, the comfort of a story told. The night is settled. The world is quiet. All that is left now is the soft, welcoming darkness behind your eyes and the gentle, steady rhythm of your own breathing in and out. Just the soft dark. Just your gentle breath. Sleep now.